Subject Detroit was started almost as an experiment. It was like half frustration and half experiment. It was just me trying to figure out if people were buying records based solely on the name that was on them. Because when I go to the record shop, there were always people there, and they would look up and they see the wall, they say, oh, there's a new such and such, I'm gonna get it because I know that name. I'm gonna get this because I know that name. And I noticed they would get the records, or whatever the person working behind the desk would the counter would pull for them, and they would just buy it without even listening to it. And I thought, man, it's kind of weird, because, you know, it really struck me that one time there was a house producer, and he had 3 albums out on 3 separate labels at the same time. That's way too much music for one person to have everything be good, unless you're Prince, you know. So I decided, looked at the guy, and I was like, man, this guy's gonna buy these records and even listen to them. So that's when I decided I'm gonna start a label, I'm gonna do a release, and I'm not gonna put my name on it, and I wanna see if people buy it. So I started Subject Detroit Records, because that's the subject. It's just the whole essence of Detroit, which is freeform. It's basically do whatever you want to do as long as it's funky, as long as it has a feeling and a spirit and a vibe to it. It's like the soul of the city comes alive and tells you what to do. And then that's how you express yourself. You don't just go in the studio and make something and then put it out. That's not how Detroit techno is usually made. So I decided I would make some songs and put them out. And I did, and I released them as under the name SUB001, like subject number 1. And that was it. And I ended up selling thousands of copies of this record. I mean, thousands of copies. My first order from the distributor was like, I think like 1,200 or 1,300 records from one distributor. So, with no name, and it was the first release. So, it just kind of proved my theory that sometimes, even though you do have guys walking in the store and just buying off of the name, you still have people who are curious enough to say, you know what, let me check this out and see what it's about. I don't think it can happen nowadays because there's so many labels and so many producers, but back then it was really risky, I guess, but it paid off, and it just paid off in a positive way for me.